Emma Sky. Emma? Emma Sky? What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? Because this is how you would have reacted. Oh, ho, 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 ho! You're really something, righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. Hold it! How could you, you monster! Miss Sky, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. Ha! But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposefully concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. No, I have to show that to everyone. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How's it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh? And what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma Sky, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about? I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth. What could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. What is it? Is it the fact that the cloth is clean and the spot looks very bloody, maybe? This might not be it. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out? Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood in his vest, though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs no doubt were punctured. Blood poured out of his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth. Wait, there's no blood on it. Ugh! Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. Then he broke the jar on purpose to leave behind a clue and make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut this bloodless piece of the victim's chest? Vest even? Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. No! It's finished. Objection! Oh, he's sad now. No, he's actually sweating, not sad. Heh. Heh heh. Ho 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 ho! That was close, right? Oh, you almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Order! Order! What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Aji? Earlier, old Raito here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Raito? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence that I can present at this point in time. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair. Ho 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 ho! Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth? True. Legal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright? It seems, at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposefully and illegally concealed this piece of cloth? I did not. Certainly. I refused to present evidence at one point. Aha! So the evidence is illegal! No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't. What do you mean, you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Aji, don't listen to his lies! He's nothing but a coward. You can't let him. There's only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well. Let us settle this once and for all. Earlier you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now. Evidence law? No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. And unregistered evidence must be relevant to the case and trial. But I guess technically speaking, the case on trial isn't the case we've been focusing on. It's the one where Bruce Goodman got murdered, so maybe? This is my proof, Your Honor. This book called Evidence Law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. I skimmed through this in the 15-minute recess we had. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this is merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying, I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case and trial. And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and... sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented? That was shown only a few moments ago. No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest? Oh, yes. Well, no! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before the Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant, the killer was you. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years he's been snooping around the department, trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Star, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you gotta help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden he had to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. So I killed him. He told me to open up the evidence room and take it out. It's not too late. I'll hand this to Marshall. Well, to be honest, I was a little panicked too. I had a bad feeling about it, but I never knew it would come to this. That's when I saw it. That accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. You would only increase the amount of blood, and you couldn't finish what you started. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I was wiping it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my mistake. Detective Gumshoe's bloody handprint. I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car? I'm sorry, we couldn't think of any other way to move the body. We broke the trunk, but what's the big deal? You pull down a lot more than us, Detective. Ugh. What does this have to do with anything? You're horrible. How could you get Miss Sky involved in all this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker? I feel bad for having to do it. I couldn't sit around and pick and choose what to take. Well, you left the jar fragment in the gloves. Yeah, it looks like I was better off being an investigator of the crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to their dismay. Or to my dismay, even. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, what are you doing in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. I'm not the same as you, Dad. I'm different. One day you'll understand. If you want to take them on alone, you'll figure out what's needed. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. I've got another lunch to meet up. Oh, Udgy. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are gone now, Edgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Raito here. And Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. You see, if I listen carefully, I can hear it right now. The sound of a new beginning. Sounds like clapping. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes. First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gant help me forge evidence, up until today. So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered. And sorry, Miss Sky, I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My, what high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows, a few years from now, you just might make it to the top. Smile. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it. I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky? Yes, Your Honor. You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all of this? Why are you smiling? It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains. Well, this trial has gone on for far too long already. It's time for lunch. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. Woohoo! Get out the confetti, boys. That is all. The court is adjourned. Whew, it's been a long one today. But looking at the page, The online page. Looks like we still have a bit of stuff left. I'm looking at this on, I guess, strategywiki.org, it looks like. Now, they show a big section of what really happened and then what happened 2 years later. I'm not sure if it's about to go over that with me or if we're about to hit the epilogue. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a second, though. At long last, it's finally over. Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook. But at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended, I can see why Mia Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And then she smiled, and to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too. But Lana didn't say a single word to me. Hope I'm not interrupting anything. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. I got another random bit of something to give you. Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. Seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. You're not a detective anymore, I don't think. Are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me? That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone. Lana, should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I'd ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Aunt to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realized I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself. But I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I hate eyes. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma! No one can change the past. I know it's not the judge, but I feel like it fits. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find a way back to our path. And once we found our path, we can move on from our past mistakes towards a brighter future. At least that's what I felt, looking at those two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe. Me? Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. The angry Edgeworth. Where was he hiding? I just came to say congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right. Well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realized today that I can't change my own mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth? Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right. You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. If you want to take them on alone, you'll figure out what's needed. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime alone, one needs a weapon. It's scary, but I've been thinking the same thing for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime alone, one needs a weapon. That may be right. But think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright. Show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own? Oh, I guess the evidence list. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list, and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth, if you'll excuse me, there's still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember. What happened in this trial can either make or break you as a prosecutor. In the end, it's up to you. I know. Seems I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. I better be getting back too. Okay, I'll come visit you. It seems we both still have a lot to learn. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation. It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. And so another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. Huh? Well, what is it, detective? There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. But I thought you said it was okay. Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, haha. You see, Mr. Wright here's the one who will be footing the bill. Huh? Huh? What, you think I could afford that with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Huh? Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it I suddenly feel like I want to scream? Since we're all here, why don't we all go together? Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. Oh, do I have to do the objection? Objection! There we go. It's cooler if it works on the first try. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of me. She's a coroner. I think Emma will be pleased. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days at the prosecutor's office. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. Then, I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. Apparently after the credits I'm given a book to check. Yikes, I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation of the chief's office. If we penalize you anymore, it'll be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what they said. It just goes to show, you can't shake me off that easily. Said apparently I'm given an opportunity to show something. I present the evidence list and then when given a chance yell objection? I'm not sure what that means. Oh, it's talking about the thing where we work together with, what's-his-face? With Edgeworth. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show him though. Someday I'm going to make detective. Yes, sir, then I can be just like that Dick Gumshoe. So, I guess maybe you have to yell objection? I tried tapping it, it didn't work. Most of the time you could tap it in the game. Or you can tap the, the hold it and that kind of thing. Or the present. Although you could also do it with buttons. Not a big fan of that voice command thing, just because it doesn't ever seem to work right, but I think that's just because the DS's microphone isn't especially good. It kind of reminds me of the motion controls for the Wii remote, where it has motion controls, but they're not especially great, and a lot of times it can't distinguish between actual nuanced movements and waggling. What is it? Can't you see I'm having a showdown with a steak lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. She's seeing one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, looks like you did it. You even gave Bambina back here to smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water? I'm Assuming that's the cactus. Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. As farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu. The right way lunch. Top layer taste is bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. But yeah, after the credits, apparently I'm given another book to check. And I can examine the back cover for a cute photo, apparently. I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, he said he's been doing something or other for how many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I'd better be. Huh? Oh no! I forgot my gavel! Sorry, gotta go! Didn't forget my beard, though. It's good, though. I want to talk a little bit about the game, but I only get about 10 seconds between the pictures. Ah! Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing Nick and his objections. Still, I can't go back and tell I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming. Well, see you around, Nick. I enjoyed the game, of course. It does feel a little bit dated now. The visual novels have a nice habit of, like, not getting really dated. The visuals aren't bad. I actually kind of like how they look. When I see the new visuals in, like, the Ace Attorney trilogy, they look better, but I'm not sure they hold on to the same feeling for the characters sometimes. Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth, I brought you tea. What's going on? Was that the resignation letter, I think? That being said, though, the trials do feel very... It feels like they do the same thing a lot. For the most part. Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. So we can apparently look at the back for a picture. I think that's probably it. Alright, yep, that's it. So yeah, I thought it was fun. You know, it does feel slightly dated in the sense that, you know, the whole first section of the game, not including the last chapter we did, was all designed for a Game Boy Advance. So the investigations weren't, like, incredibly deep, especially considering there wasn't that 3D element that was kind of cool in the last chapter we did. Where the investigations were basically, like, move around a cursor on a background and then, you know, select things on a background kind of thing. And then present evidence. It's a simple game, but it seems to be decently written and decently translated, even if it's goofy. I am interested in the other games. Not entirely sure if I'm going to do Let's Play on them, but I probably will buy that trilogy and play through it on the computer. If nothing else personally, just to do it, because a lot of people, you know, are like, you haven't seen the Phoenix Wright game, and I hadn't until this point. I knew about it existing, but I just never bothered to go through it, so I'm glad I did. That was a lot of fun. And enjoyed it a lot, yeah. It was a bit of a lengthy ending there for me, though. But I'm glad I did it all at once. And like I said, I was sick recently. That's kind of why I hadn't been putting out videos. But I'm going to put this one out. We'll do another Valkyria Chronicles 4 soon. And then I'm going to actually open back into doing the Higurashi one where I left off at. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for Valkyria Chronicles or whatever else I'm doing. Bye!